All right.
All the way live.
All the way live. We're in here. Welcome to the FeedBak podcast. My name is Back. As always, I got my boy Obi in the house. How you doing, man?
What's up, guys?
We got returning champ Alex.
What's up, y'all? What's up?
It's been a while, but
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
it's been a minute. But we want to hear from you. So, and making our third appearance on the FeedBak podcast, we got Kim Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm in Austin. That's where you guys are, right?
Yeah.
For the first time, we're in the same city.
Oh, we're all in the same
There you
city
go.
today?
Yeah, you
Oh,
got the nice
man.
background.
It's
This
like
dude's
third
on his
time for
patio. I'm in my office.
You didn't recognize your own city?
Yeah.
You know
It took me a second.
that skyline's changed so much over the
Yeah.
last,
Yeah, right.
not even last year, let alone 20.
Yep.
It makes sense.
So I want to start off. First of all, I want to start off with some somber notes because Malik B from The Roots passed away. If you don't know Malik B, he's one of the co-founders of the Roots Crew. If you don't know the Roots Crew, and if your reference of the Roots Crew is the Tonight Show, then do your homework.
Yeah,
You're missing
that was
out on a
sad
lot of good
news.
stuff.
Legendary crew. I mean, Questlove and Black Thought, all of them. So rest in peace, Malik B. And then
Yeah.
I want to talk about this Herman Cain death for a little bit.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I just saw that
Came out
earlier
today.
too.
Yeah. First of all, how did you like? Did it do anything to you when you found out? Like, was it just another one? Like, how did you feel, Obi?
me, it was sad because I think when the news first came out that he got COVID, that I just assumed that he recovered like in a week or two, like all the other people that kind of test positive and they kind of get out, but I didn't. Had no idea he was still battling it like all the way since that Tulsa rally. So it was sad. It was sad. Like I didn't really like any of his politics, but just the fact that, you know, the guy that was trying kind of passed away, has a family. It was just sad news.
I mean, it's sad when anybody dies. Let's not be heartless
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But did anybody feel like, well, he's been like anti-mask. He's been like touting personal liberties on Twitter, talking about, yeah, we don't have masks. You shouldn't wear. There shouldn't be a mandate for masks. And next thing you know, he catches it, and he paid the price, the ultimate price.
I mean,
What do you
that's
guys-
really kind of where I was coming from is at this point, we've become so polarized on this topic with the mask, and it's becoming so dramatic that the way that I've just been looking at it is like, there's so many people arguing back and forth, and he was one of those people, just like anyone else who feels that they have a right to do whatever they want to do. We can argue those points all day, but he did not want to wear the mask, and unfortunately, he was 74, so he was at risk, at a higher risk anyway. He was shown many times at a couple of those events with other prominent figures not wearing a mask, and they weren't either. So I think it's not something, I definitely want to show I want respect for his death, obviously, but it does speak to if that's what he chose to do and that's the circumstances that occurred from that, then that's, what's going to happen. I think you're either way, you're going to get people that go, who knows if the mask could have helped him? You're going to get people on either side. So I don't really have an opinion on so much the mask as much as like, he was so in support of not wearing the mask. He got coronavirus, but you're still going to have people that are going to say it wasn't about the mask. He still could have gotten it. He could have transmitted it. He could have not. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're still going to be at, the same starting point. But I mean, it's sad that it happened. And I see just a few more people that are on the Republican side that are, I was watching Twitter today and they were wearing masks. So I found that to be a little interesting that they were like, oh, somebody died from our side, so we're going to put those masks on now. So that's just what my observation was.
Alex?
Yeah. Kind of piggyback what she was saying about now all of a sudden, when it hits closer to home, we become reactionary people.
Right.
Like why does it take this to be all of a sudden, oh, now we got to do this or now we got to do that. I mean, it doesn't even have to be COVID related. It could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't be proactive for everything because something new is going to come up that we're not going to be prepared for. It's just almost impossible to be ready for every day. But it just sucks whenever there's something that this is a worldwide thing. Like we've talked about this on so many other podcasts. Like this is a worldwide pandemic. Like this is nothing new.
Well, let me push it a little further. Then, if tomorrow Trump gets it, or someone like really, I know they get tested all the time. I know even.
Let's stick with Trump. Would he even say that he got it?
I don't think
like,
so.
Would you trust that he would even? Would you trust that he would actually be a leader that would actually admit to that?
I mean,
because
got it, or do we trust that he would either not say he got it or say he got it and he bit it, he beat it because of his diagnosis that he or his.
He'll
so there's
get it. He'd get it, and then if he actually ended up beating it, then he'll come out and be like, "Oh yeah, I took that hydroxyl whatever chloroquine, and now look at me, I beat it, I win, I'm a winner." Like he'll find a way to spin it as either he's a victim or he wins. I mean, there's only two ways you can spin it, but he'll make it like a big deal, just like.
I mean, the last 3 years have been. I mean, to your point back, the last 3 years that we've seen of him as president, it speaks to your point exactly. Like it's all about winning. It's not about the greater good of people. It's not about anything but him. It's very much about him.
So, I mean, he was pushing to push the election off today. Yeah, he's already stated that he doesn't feel during this time that the election could be 100% with the mail-in ballot.
It's rigged, folks. It's rigged.
So he's already, it's rigged. I know it's rigged. I'm the smartest person in the history of all time, so I know about rigged elections. So yeah, like he's already kind of like playing us for that and preparing us. It's narcissistic grooming. I'm going to come from that angle, y'all are.
Yeah. So, I saw like one of my friends posted on Facebook today, like, man, day by day we're getting closer to like a fascist nation, and it's just kind of like setting us up for like this horrible future. Like kind of warming everybody. We should delay this. Like I don't know.
It can't. I mean, no matter what happens, the presidency expires in January. That's in the Constitution. So if you want to change that, you got to get it.
Yeah, but see what you just said. It's in the Constitution. He's already ignoring what's in the Constitution.
Yeah,
so.
But something like that's too big. He doesn't have the. This is what he does. This is what he does. Like he'll throw an idea out, and you don't even know whether he's serious or not. Like when you say like drink, Lysol or whatever. Like he'll say it. It sounds idiotic, but he doesn't. You never know if it's joking or if it's serious. And no matter what, people will still take it as, yo, this is serious because this is the president talking.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like whenever, a person that thinks he's a chef, they're trying to figure out when spaghetti's made. They just try and throw it up against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the bleach comment, that was another thing. I'm not defending Trump at all, but I do a lot of like reflecting and watching people's behavior. And one of the things with his press conference was that he kept looking at the scientist guy that was doing trials, and he kept saying, I know bleach kills this on surfaces. Wouldn't it be nice if we could find something that works like bleach that kills it, but within the body? So, I mean, to play devil's advocate there, I think that he was actually speaking to, like, he was not saying drink bleach. I went over that video 1,000 times. What I think is that people took it and they said, oh, he said drink bleach. And so what your point is exactly right, is that sometimes lost in translation, they'll hear what they want, run with that, and that's where we go. So, that's why I'm kind of worried right now, is that anything that comes out from the Trump side of things is going to be skewed, twisted, manipulated, and it's either going to be, it's sometimes not always from him. And we need to understand that. Sometimes it's from his camp, sometimes it's from his son, sometimes it's from his supporters.
You think so? I think it comes out of his head. I think it's just like,
no, it does come from him. I'm saying there's more than just him. There's more that we have to look out for. So people are like, it's just Trump, so they're just watching Trump's words only. And I'm like, no, but you've got his son going on The View spouting ridiculous, vitriol, disgusting commentary. You've got his supporters that are posting fake news type, articles. So you have to be aware of where your information is coming from, not just watching Trump and blaming him. It's an entire movement of people that you got to watch and see how they're adjusting. It's the news that follows him these days. I did notice Fox News. I don't know if you guys caught last week, but
Chris Wallace, the Chris Wallace interview?
Yeah, he really came out.
Yeah, that was great, but I think that people saw him for who he was. When you say things like "I'm going to be right eventually," it's mind-boggling. Obi, you posted this video on Facebook recently about, I forgot what paper did it. It's about how people overseas see the United States, and
the New York Times put it out.
Yeah, so they played they put a bunch of people in front of basically like Trump speeches, press conferences or interviews or whatever, and then they had people from Germany, people from Senegal, big up. They had people from I think South Korea or Australia.
Yeah, Germany, everywhere.
Yeah, and they were all like, I can't believe this is happening. One girl started crying. She was like, I can't believe like the United States has mass graves, and they were showing footage of like literally how do you call these things again? Like bulldozers, like digging and putting caskets in the ground,
digging up. Yeah, because I think people like me and Bat, we've had this conversation a lot of times. Like people that live here in the United States, like don't really understand it. They don't get world news. Like we're in this big media bubble over here that we don't really understand how we're viewed, like overseas, and how they kind of look at us like during this pandemic. Like I even posted something like a while back saying like showing kind of where American passports are valid right now. We're like our passports are only valid in about probably like somewhere around 20 countries. American passports. That's like we're blocked off to like we're so isolated like in the terms of like where we could go in the world right now that it's a really bad look, and just our leadership is just
but
I think that that comes from a lot of other stuff though. I mean, somebody like, so speaking from somebody who was in the military, I mean, we've stuck our nose in a lot of people's businesses that we didn't need to be in. Yeah. You're talking about decades and decades of just us just kind of, I wouldn't say bullying around, but we were that new kid on the block that all of a sudden we had to be the police of the world because we had all these resources and we had all this military, we had the mobilization.
Only when it serves your interest.
To do so.
I'll add that.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's just like it's just one of those things where I just think it was just so much has built up, and now we're at this tipping point of like now nobody wants to deal with us. I mean, nobody already likes us. I've been all over the world and I've seen like there's countries that they just don't like us. They like our money, but
like
that's
the
about
culture.
it.
You know what? Growing up in France, we realized that the United States, it's too long to say. America's biggest export is its culture. It's entertainment, it's Hollywood. I think that's its biggest export because everything.
And that comes from a very like this only comes from like one real demographic of people. Let's just be real about it.
Yeah, but I mean, people like the American culture overseas, but they don't necessarily like the American people or American politics.
Did you see
politics?
Did you see that meme that was going around? Maybe I think it was like last week. What do you call Karens in Europe? Americans.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Actually, I will say true. The French are pretty bad tourists as well. The French.
So I actually got added by a New York Times reporter. I woke up and my clients were like, "You're in my news feed on Twitter," and I was like, "About what?" Because I haven't been really online lately to get too controversial. But I reposted one of my clients' words about that black and white challenge of women that has gone around that originated in Turkey, right? Which Americans had not recognized that it originated in Turkey, but we figured out, and people have been doing that. I used my photo to bring awareness to Breonna Taylor's murder, and different people, just posted the photo. Other people used causes. Well, there was a New York Times reporter that posted an article about it being so negative, and different things about Americans not, paying attention, and all these different things. Had some good points, but it basically said it was rich celebrities that was driving this whole challenge, which it really wasn't. It was about 1% celebrities. Mm-hmm. And then the other women were just vanity, self-absorbed, all this stuff. All I did was I had a client that deals with depression. And so she wrote me and said, thank you for sending me this challenge. It got me up, it got me out of bed, and it got me going. And I did my hair, and for a day, I felt like I belonged into a community. And there was a lot of women that said that. So all I did was repost that. Well, I wake up to this news reporter that shows my Instagram story that said the vitriol from the black and white selfie crowd, the Karens of the world, is just out of this world. I didn't even say anything. I just said, my client had a good experience with this. And so the challenge goes deeper. Let's remind ourselves that it started in Turkey. And so underneath that, mm-hmm. I could give a shit with some New York Times reporter.
Yeah, I hope you had a lot of clicks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I actually got a lot of followers. I was like, thank you for the clout there. That was great. But the higher point to it was that I didn't have time to argue with her. I'm too old for that shit. But what I was doing is I was reading the comments just to kind of gather an understanding, and I'll wrap this up here. I was noticing people that were not from this country, that were from overseas or whatever, that kind of mm-hmm. shared in her opinion of whatever the challenge was. I guess they were probably upset that Americans had taken on the Turkish challenge or whatever, but they kept calling me a Karen. They were like, basically, and I was like, well, I mean, I didn't do anything. And they're like, well, you're a Karen because you're an American. So exactly what Obi is saying, I got like hundreds of people calling me a Karen because I was American on this one topic. And I was like, how am I a Karen for just reposting that it was a positive thing? So I agree with that. I mean, Americans are Karens now.
Does it matter? I want to touch on this black and white picture thing that's been going around. So yeah, the issue at hand, the way this thing started is about the woman in Turkey. I forgot what the whole thing is, but anyway, it's not
she was murdered, and the women started realizing that they could become another black and white photo. So women in Turkey,
that's right. Yeah, they were put in on newspapers.
They just become black and white photos, and so many women get murdered from domestic violence or whatever, and it's just another photo. So the challenge went up to say, you could be next.
Yes, but what I saw a lot of was, hey, yes, women empowerment, thanks you for the challenge accepted, and no mention of this issue at all. So
no, at first no one knew. So the original challenge, there was a black and white challenge. No one, well, the original challenge wasn't necessarily connected to that. There's some confusion on if somebody took that challenge, made it their own version, and there's no original person to know who started it. But, I mean, these trends are going to be trends all over. So like what I wrote in my Instagram post was, these trends are every single week. So instead of me just saying challenge accepted, I'm going to use it to go deeper. And then I wrote about the Breonna Taylor story and posted what people could do. But at the end of the day, it was about a lot of women who are either depressed, going through issues, that are abused, that are in, I mean, so many different women had different reasons for it. So I see both sides. I think that once we as American women knew that it originated in Turkey, that we should have, like I did, and a bunch of people posted the original challenge and said, here's what's going on. We should have done that, and a lot of us did. But there were a lot of women from Turkey that were in support of American women doing this challenge as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, so that's all good.
It's the game of telephone, kind of. People don't really know.
People it's lost in translation. People are just doing it because, oh, my friend just nominated me to take a black and white picture. I'm just going to do it because, besties and go women and all that. So yeah, people will give it whatever meaning they want. It's just that, and I'm not, nobody's going to say, fuck women empowerment. Maybe some douchebag. But, I mean, I get it.
There's always somebody.
Yeah, I get it. But it's one of those, there's this trendy thing that everybody's doing, so I have to hop on and do it myself. Like the big for Black Lives
I
Matter.
think the one thing to kind of think about when you saw kind of, you know, what the source of that challenge came from, and then you see kind of the response where a lot of people kind of took it as a moment to kind of post like a glamorous kind of photo of themselves, is realizing the people that did find out about the challenge are people kind of that go and dig deeper and do research on stuff. Like you, Kim, like you were one of the people I saw kind of connected to where it kind of came from. But then the other ones that kind of just saw the face value with, oh, my other friend posted this black and white selfie and it said challenge accepted, I'll do the exact same thing. But they don't really kind of take that extra effort to kind of research where is this starting from? Why am I writing challenge accepted or
Yeah,
that
so
stuff?
to Faith's point, you know, Facebook activism or social media activism, if you just do hashtag awareness is great. Don't get me wrong. Awareness is great when it's in large numbers, but if there's no call to action, it's kind of like lost in the, you know, it lost in all the bullshit that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wrote on my post. I had been tagged. I mean, what I do want to do is I can see there's some people that are watching that are followers of mine that are not followers, friends of mine, that are definitely these are some of the women that interacted with me on that. Some of the women didn't know where the original one started from, but from a mental health perspective, when they got a message, it wasn't just they saw their friends post a glamorous shot that, by the way, some of the a lot of these Turkish women posted glamorous photos, by the way. So it's not about the type of photo, right? But a lot of the challenge that went around said, I'm nominating you because you are an amazing person. I know you have good values. I value you as a woman. You are strong and you are powerful. And I want you to know that I see you. So a lot of women with COVID and everything else, they had not been seen. They had no reason to get up. They've been social distancing. They had been depressed. They had
taking
anxiety.
care of kids.
So you have a this part of the population that really did need that. So I want to recognize them, but I also want to recognize that, yes, there is a group of people that didn't, even after knowing the true story. In mine, I had been nominated about 15 times over about 4 days before I actually posted, because I was like, I can't do the empty hashtag. And
but that's not, but Kim, like I was going to say, like, that's not why I was bringing it. I was just pretty much bringing it just as like a sidebar, but I'm not ever going to shit on somebody for like whether it was the Turkish point or whether it was like just the women empowerment point. I'm not, it's good that people are boosting everyone up to begin with in general. That's good. I'm just saying, like,
no, and I wasn't going against you. I was agreeing with the point that, like, once a person, I wanted to acknowledge that those women did that, and that's totally okay if they wanted to do it. But once we know, so the round out point I wanted to make, once we know the origin, we have a duty to then make that awareness, bring to call the action at that point. So it's that Maya Angelou, once I know better, I do better. I hope I may have probably murdered that, but you know what I mean. Once you know better, you do better. And so it's okay to post a black and white glamorous shot. I have a lot of black and white photos over the years myself. But once you know that it originated somewhere, go a step further and then go into a call to action like Fox said. So that's what I want to say to women that might be watching this. No one's judging what you did, but you need to go a little further, you know, in that process to make it worth it, because these trends happen weekly.
I'm going to suggest a feature to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you can make a functionality where any kind of like activism hashtag should be tied to a link to something, so that if you click it, it's not just a search. It goes, oh, this is what you're supporting. This is where you go to actually take action. Because social media activism just, I don't think it does. It's not as effective as, hey, donate to Black Lives Matter, or hey, you can call your congressman or whatever. Have a landing page that has all that information, and people can take action on whatever they want related to the issue, because it becomes too easy.
It's real quick. It's just for me, like when I saw it happening, I knew what it was about, like kind of like right at the beginning. and it turned into almost like, and Bach, you probably know about it, like the whole, like when everybody was putting the France flag
Oh, just you
on
shot
their
me?
Facebook, right? Yeah,
Oh,
you know,
I'm
like
French all of a sudden. Shut up.
right. It's just like I feel like it's almost like when people buy gym equipment with the heart to actually like work out and get in shape and stuff like that, but then they don't even use the equipment that they purchased. It's like an empty gesture, you know. And I feel like, you know, for me, and I'm a man of faith, so my faith, like I don't do this whole like, hey, I did this or I donated to that. Like I just do it, and I make my peace with my higher power, because I did it for that reason, so I could get right this way, so I could get right with you guys, you know. And it's not a, I think at first when I was seeing a lot of people on my feed, these are, I mean, it was just to get that click, you know. It wasn't, there was no like what Kimberly was saying, there was no origin point. It was just like, let me post this beautiful black and white picture of myself, and then it was just like, that's it. And then there was no like follow up or anything like that. Because I don't know, it just,
because right before that it was the black squares with the black, and then and then even going back decades ago with the yellow wristbands, the Live Strong, Lance Armstrong bracelets, which is supposed to be like awareness for cancer research and stuff. So we see it all the time, but people kind of, it's just, we're just saying, I guess, take that extra step to kind of like
you wanted to
contribute.
you had a segue.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, like, because you were bringing up Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, making a suggestion, but right now they're like under fire because of censorship with these frontline doctors that kind of went to DC, and these doctors were promoting that they've been treating several patients, like all like in their general practices. And they've been using that hydroxychloroquine medicine and zinc, and what was the third medication that they were saying was helpful? And they were saying that it's been helping like treat COVID patients. And then in these videos, the video of like their speech on in DC was getting pulled down. Like you would have thought they were posting like the ending of Marvel's Endgame. And it was getting deleted like so fucking fast off of, you could like the moment you click on the video and you refreshed it, that video was deleted. And it was like a frenzy trying to watch this video. And then like everyone was like, and then you started noticing that everybody has like extremely strong opinions on on what's true and what's not. And Facebook's whole response to it was like, well, this video has misinformation, so that's why we're removing it from all these platforms. And so did YouTube, like, was removing it. So what was your take when you saw this video come out this week?
Honestly, I didn't even pay attention to that one. So I'm like,
you did it? You missed it?
All I saw was like demon something, sex demons that was trending for a minute and a half.
One of the doctors also, she said, if you know, Facebook doesn't allow these videos up, Jesus is gonna burn Facebook down. I mean, she just came out and said that. So it was, she could be a very smart person, but then when you say something like that, you go to, you know, faith extremism. I'm also a person of faith, you know, Alexi, but when you go to extremism like that, you already negate anything that you could share with anybody, because people think you're crazy. So that was that comment. Yeah.
Well, some of y'all might know already, because I posted about this already. Like, I have a connection to that main doctor, the Nigerian doctor that was.
Is your cousin?
No, she's not my cousin.
The African way cousin. Hold on, the African way cousin. You know,
like, because I had a different reaction when I watched the video, because immediately when I saw her and like I realized what her name was, I was like, holy crap, I've talked to this doctor before. I talked to this doctor last year when I was like going through like all of my leg complications. Like I had another physician refer me, because I was trying to figure out what was going on with my legs. So I was like, they said, hey, you should talk to this doctor in Houston, since you're trying to go to Houston, and like they have a pretty good hospital. Like this one might be able to figure out what's going on. And it's Stella Emanuel, the one that's like in this video. So when I watched it, I was just like, okay. Immediately, like I didn't have to go through that whole, are these actors, or are these real doctors? I knew immediately this is a real doctor because I've talked to her before.
Yeah.
so then I started kind of listening to kind of what they were saying, and I wasn't completely there. I didn't like, because there were, it's from what I was getting, they were saying it was a cure for COVID, and I know that they treated like 300 people, and well, just that particular doctor treated 300 people. So I just, to me, it was just kind of like, why, like before I could even kind of fact check everything that she's saying, like the videos are starting to get taken down, and I'm just like, why are people so much in a hurry to like block what they're saying, then fact check it, like why not like
I
let
think
people hear it, or it's just kind of, I'm very confused on is if the whole reason these videos are being deleted is, hey, it's misinformation. What about, like, there's so many other videos I can point to misinformation too, but those are not deleted. Like, what is it about this particular one that's so egregious that
wait.
is
So
making
with
it
the
get yanked
backlash,
like in seconds?
so was there like instant backlash as soon as it went up?
Yeah, it's like instant,
So
like within 5 minutes. Though, like it's, I think my question is more about the censorship of what they're saying. Like,
So here's what I'll throw into there. Obi, you and I don't know everyone else's history, but you and I, we share chronic disease issues.
yeah,
We share that, right? So, and I know we kind of talked about not going too personal, but just from a chronic illness standpoint, for the last 10 years, and I have my degree in integrative nutrition and trauma and all of that in what I work in. So I saw the doctor too, strangely enough. I went over for heavy metal poisoning. So I knew it wasn't actresses, but I also, coming from the chronic illness community, 70,000 people in Facebook groups and 100,000 in other Facebook groups, and Lyme disease and heavy metal poisoning and mold poisoning. I know that the hydroxychloroquine, I can't get it right. And
yeah.
someone's going to, why she can't be talking about it, she can't even pronounce it. But my neurological stuff is not going to let that happen right now. So I know that from my perspective, watching it for 10 years, being offered that drug myself for my own disease, I studied it. I looked into it. I've got 7 doctors that I work with. They're amazing doctors, and none of them recommend it because it has chances of high cardiac arrest in a lot of people that don't even know they have heart conditions. One of my patients, same scenario, healthy. His mom, not my patients, my clients, his mom died because she went ahead with the
so it does kill people.
No,
You can
it
die
does.
from taking it.
Right. And so the thing for
But
me is that the way they were telling some of the statistics on it is what Facebook actually looked up and said, this is misinformation because you don't have a large enough study. So the large study has been done for 10 years. There's a reason this is not a mainstream drug yet. So when people are saying you're keeping it away because you want to spend money on the vaccine, well, they could have made tons of money on it if they would have released this years ago as an adequate thing, because it's a malaria
what do you
type
mean
drug.
it's, but what do you mean it's not a mainstream drug? I thought
It is now. No, I don't think.
this is a mainstream drug. This is approved.
It is now, but for 10 years, there's been a study. It's a mainstream drug because they went ahead and pushed it through. But I mean, how many of us have watched? Do you know a loved one that took Levaquil and had a heart attack 5 years later? You've seen those commercials. Hydroxychloroquine is similar to that, where they went ahead and they pushed it forward because there was a demand for it without getting a full okay that normal people might be affected by it. So what they've labeled it as right now, I'm not saying it doesn't treat people, and I'm not saying you don't need to take it if you want to choose to take it. I've chosen not to use it for me. I have friends that have lupus. They've taken it, but what I have seen over, I'm almost 40. I had my disease since I was 12. 20 years of talking to people where this drug keeps coming up in my doctors, groups, support groups. People keep telling me, since I started this drug, I have eyesight loss. Since I started this drug, I started having heart problems.
Okay,
Since
so
I started
But
this
but
drug,
the same thing that you're saying with those side effects, there are another group that say it's had a positive effect for them too.
well,
absolutely,
hold on.
but
So
they say it's having positive effects for them, but they're also like my friend with lupus, she's on it, right? She's like, I mean, it is keeping me alive, but I'm going blind. So yeah, they're going to speak to the positive things because it's keeping
did
them alive. My medication is
did they
keeping
come
me
out?
alive, but it's causing me
Kim,
Or
hearing
can
loss.
I can hold on.
Kim,
Sorry.
did they come out and said, hey, this thing actually works. And I have proof because I got this article here that says that she treated 350 people with the drug and no one died. And did they come out and say, "Oh, we have a cure for this
She
COVID-19. It
in the
actually
press.
works." Where the FDA, hold on, while the FDA has not labeled that as any kind of uh, it might help some people, some other people might die, but it's not officially a cure or a vaccine or anything like that. Because if they
This
come out
is
and,
the
they
new
come out and said
cure.
that, I totally understand Facebook and Twitter for taking
They
this.
said like at the end of video itself, she said that they're gonna put the paper their data out later after the fact. And then they did a follow up press conference the next day. My friend forwarded it to me, and I think that they actually did release it, or no, the doctors' websites were all their websites were getting taken down too or blocked because people are going to their websites to try to get in more information. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, even if you wanted to find that information that you just asked for back, like how can people find it when you're being blocked? Like, you're being blocked on all the social media. You're being blocked if you go to their direct page to kind of look it up for yourself. Like, you can't fact
Yeah,
check
but
it.
yeah, but
You
there's
can
got to be a
jump in and
higher authority on this.
right, but you can
It
jump
can't be a
into a
group of
Facebook
10 people coming up and having a press conference and, hey, this thing works for
exactly.
the people I treated. There's got to be a
Two,
higher authority, and in this case, in this country, it's the FDA.
yeah, two things. The CDC is
Yeah,
a myth, right? So two things. One, she did say the word cure. It's not a cure. That's not that. So that's just that's misinformation.
Yeah,
yep.
that was incorrect.
So that was the problem. She said, you know, we've got a drug. I don't know why they're keeping us from using this, miraculously cured, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. Number two is that you can jump into any of these chronic illness groups that are Lyme, chronic illness, whatever. And there are major doctors in there that have their studies that have placed in there from, like, I went to Johns Hopkins and the Mayo Clinic because I have very extreme illnesses. And I work with those doctors. They have those studies. So you can go to those, you can find those places, those things other places, but unfortunately, I think Facebook should have offered an alternative, not just took it down. Should have said, go here to see the actual factual information of the studies. And that's what I would like to see more of, is them giving an alternative.
Because I thought, like, because I think I still have her phone number in my phone, and I was thinking about, like, should I text her or ask, like, before a follow up, like, hey, where can I find more information? But I didn't, like, instead what I did was I talked to some pharmacists, since they know these medications, they deal with these medications day in, day out. And what I was hearing from pharmacists was that they would never recommend this medication. Like, the only way that they think that it would work is if you use all three and mix them together, and if possible, like, that's the way you would be able to
cocktail of that shit.
Yeah, you have to have, like, you have to have, like, hydroxychloroquine, some
Viagra.
what was it?
Tylenol,
no, they said like a Z pack or something, like. But that's I'm not. Don't quote me on this or whatever. I don't know I'm not a pharmacist.
If someone else,
but it's just the crazy that the people that deal with this medication daily don't think it's the proper thing to do right now. So.
But if she had come out, if in that group of what was that group called again? The Americans.
The frontline doctors.
The frontline doctors, yeah. If someone else had come out in that group and had, first of all, not used the word cure, and also didn't have the background that she has, because she became the poster child, like the representative of that entire group. And some of the shit she wrote,
I think it's because she spoke. It's because she spoke so passionately.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But I mean, she took down a website because, like, she's written books. She's like religious books about how. I have a quote here saying that tormenting spirits are responsible for serious gynecological problems and impotence.
Yeah.
Many women suffer from astral sex regularly. Astral sex is the ability to project one spirit man into a victim's body and have intercourse with it. It's a practice that's very common among Satanists. Like, have someone else come up and do the speech. Don't have her with that kind of talk.
I
I'm
know,
just
and then
saying,
now,
it's not helping.
now
It's
that,
not a good PR move.
and now I know it doesn't help, and now that becomes the headline. I was like, because
Well,
I kept saying
Exactly.
it like, oh, it's sex demons and spirit this and sperm
Exactly.
this.
That's all I know about her is the
I
sex
spoke
demon
with-
thing trending.
I spoke with this lady. Okay, I've gone all over the country, like with Lyme disease and Addison's and what I have. The 3 combo triangle of what I have is very hard to treat. So obviously, Obi, you just go to the specialist that you can figure out that can find it. I went to this lady. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. I left because she did not recognize Lyme disease. She said that it was not real, and I'm like, okay, well, why am I here? Heavy metal poisoning. She told me that I had a demonic spirit that she could see. She
It's
could
like Miss
see
Cleo all of a sudden.
attached to me. And then, and I'll also, not to get too far into anything, but I had been celibate for a while. And she actually told me that I had gotten a spiritual demon vaginally, and that I needed to do a cleansing. So this is not just going on a larger scale. I mean, I can't imagine how many people are going in on that. Now, I personally can dissect the two and say she could still be a really good doctor of sorts when it comes to studies and still have some, strange thoughts about religion. But the one issue that I do have is that she kept quoting, and I saw this, no offense, Adrian, I love you and I'm thankful that you're on my Facebook feed. I knew I was going to get in some stuff tonight, and Ernest, you're, on here too. But I will say this is that there's this argument that's being made, and I'll make it quick, that all drugs have side effects. Absolutely. I just said it. We've seen it. We've seen the commercials that
and
say
we're all
5
like
years
snowflakes.
Later. Right.
Something that can kill you can cure somebody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that this particular drug is, when you're saying that it can cause something in 1% of the population or 0.0008% of the population, they have to say those side effects. That's one thing. But when you have a large number of people that are going into cardiac arrest from a medication and that they don't come back from, death. It's one thing to say my eyesight's going, or it might cause me a little stomach ulcers or diarrhea, right? Or somebody might have an allergic reaction. That's very different. So I just want people to, I'm not saying either way which way you want to go, but just go to the studies and look at the numbers. I'm more likely to take something that is 0.008257% as opposed to 2% of the population. So that's where my last point. I don't want to die on any hill here. So
I know, but like Kim, you could relate to this more than I think everybody else. Kind of when we're like in the hospital, when we're hospitalized and we've tried every kind of solution, like, people realize, or I don't know if people realize, when people are talking about ventilators, that's like the last step that doctors try, because they've exhausted every other option. So the ventilator is like the last step to kind of keep them around for a little bit longer. If you're in the hospital with COVID and you've tried every kind of other option, why not, if somebody's comfortable trying that medication as their last step, why not allow them to try that medication as their last step? It pretty much is all I'm saying. Like, cause just like, well, who's some people get better, some people don't. Like I think we're as a country, we're waiting for this vaccine, and we're thinking it's going to be like this cookie cutter thing that's going to be for everybody. Like, it's going to, no matter what your health story is or underlying disease, it's going to be able to heal that. But I'm not so sure, and I'm not even sure that 100% of the population is going to even try it. I think we'll be lucky if we get 50% of the population to try this vaccine. At the way people
20.
mistrust science. I'll say 25% of the people are going to take this vaccine when it comes out, because so many people distrust science, like so bad. It's so, I don't know how we got to this part as a country or a culture. I don't know.
Well, I think
Alex.
Also too. Well, no. It's just I think your percentage is probably spot on when it comes to like a vaccine, like the original, like, hey, we got a vaccine for this. Like, I would agree with your original percentage until people start getting it. Then that number, everyone's like, oh, well, I finally got COVID. I guess I need to get the vaccine for it. It's like we were talking about earlier, like we're reactionary, like.
Well, I got COVID and I'm not getting the vaccine. My family won't get the vaccine. But that's because but to clarify that, it's not because I'm anti-vax. So I want to clarify that. Not everybody that doesn't get vaccines is anti-vax. My children were vaccinated. But again, I have health issues that vaccines cause problems for me. So you gotta factor in decision-making abilities. And where I'm coming from, and I want to leave my point of view here, is whether it be the videos that go on Facebook or it be the use of the hydroxychloroquine, is that we're adults, okay? And we should be, as Americans, we should be offered the information correctly to make a decision that's right for us. If we want to take a chance on, like Obi said, on a medication, because especially in what we deal with in chronic disease, people fly over to Germany to get stem cells and everything else that can kill them. So if you want to try that drug or you want to try that combo, I think that we should be given that option as long as we have the information, just like with anything else. I think that we should be able to see some of these videos while being warned, hey, some of this information may not be correct, do your research. But when the right is taken away from us, that we can't choose. As a 40-year-old woman, Facebook is telling me what I should believe or not believe. That gets a little tricky for me. That gets a little bit fine line-ish for me. I understand it's fact checking and all of that, but like Obi said, it seems like they're fine tuning what they're picking and choosing as fact checking. And that's where I think that we're running into some issues. And with that, the vaccine as well, I got COVID. It's fucking terrible. Sinjin got it. My son got it. It's horrible. But what I will say is having that, I can't say that I would risk what I know my body does with vaccines. I've almost died. My daughter's almost died from vaccines just because of our reactions. So I can't say that everybody will run out and get it just because they get COVID, but I think that we should be able to make reasonable decisions. And right now, as Americans, we're not doing here's the information. We're doing I got my PhD doctorate from Facebook. And that's what
I'm Joe Schmo, and I saw an article from a website that I like, and then I take that as fact. I think what you said, it's not about being offered the information, because that's not going to happen. If the government or whatever local authority goes, hey, here's a list of some credible, sources, here's some resources, here's some studies, here's some statistics, and if you look anywhere else but these places, it's bullshit. And
well,
that way
too, I think. Well, no, I just think it's almost kind of sad that that from growing up as a kid, like we got the news from like 3 people, like Tom Brokaw and Walter Cronkite, and that was like credible stuff. Like these guys were actual journalists that you knew what they said. They vetted it, they fact-checked it, they did everything they could to make sure that they were putting out the right information. If they got it wrong, they admitted it. And they went back and said, hey, this is the information I found. Now, fast forward 20 plus years, we're in 2020, and social media is where we get our facts from. Like, it's like,
so
you'd rather be the first than be the right. Did anybody watch the newsroom? Did anybody watch the newsroom on HBO? Anybody?
Oh, that show's great. That was a great show.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, it's HBO Max now. If you want to check it out, it's about
worth getting.
It's about a TV network really that tries to actually be right instead of being first. So the kind of topics that they tackle, they actually fact checked everything. It's not about so much about an opinion or left or right. It's like, look, this is the news. This is the news that I grew up on. This is credible, and this is not about clicks. It's not about, social media. We're trying to do journalism as it's meant to be made. And so I think that, being bombarded with information 24/7 to where, I saw Obi got into a Facebook fight with somebody recently.
and it happens like all the time. I know.
I don't know why
you
keep doing that shit. But the thing is,
because I have hope in society. I have hope in society, and they keep
but some
proving
people
me
are
wrong.
hopeless, man. You got to leave them behind. It's not.
Yeah.
You can't.
One thing
I
I want to just like my last 2 cents on this topic is people really need to stop making public health issues so political. Like for some reason with this topic that we're talking about, either the people that are for the drug are like identifying themselves as like Republicans or conservative, and then the people that are against it are like the liberals or the left. Or this is not even this is not a political issue. This is a public health issue right now. But
And
people like both parties like kind of pick their sides or something, and it's just people arguing because they're against that other political party. Like, stop making everything in life political. Please,
no,
for the love of
I learned early when I came to this country, there were three things you could not talk about with people like openly. It
yeah.
was sex, politics, and religion. Those are the three topics. Like if you bring that up, it stirs up emotion. It stirs up. People get angry. People get really riled up when you talk about those three things. And case in point, like politics now, if you're in a public setting, well, granted, pre-COVID, or now online actually, and you bring up anything political, then you're asking for it. You really are asking for it
Yeah.
because it's so people get so passionate, especially when it's stuff that like either doesn't affect them at all, or they just want to make a point so they can appear like, look, I'm better than you because I'm right, you're wrong. That kind of dichotomy, and it's not. It doesn't help. It really doesn't help. The reason why people all over the world are laughing at the U.S. right now is because they're like, why are you making this a political issue? They didn't do that
Well,
overseas.
if this happens, if this whole thing happens in any other year than an election year, it's a completely different thing.
You think so?
Like,
I don't think so.
I think so. I think so.
I don't, no, it's amplified
I think
because of
so.
the election year. It's amplified because of the election year. However, the 4 years in the presidency goes by real fast. As soon as you hit the second year, you're already talking about the next election cycle. And not
Yeah.
to forget that in this country, every politician is in constant re-election mode all the time. That's all they do. They want to stay where they're at. So if they're going to bring up an issue and take a stance on an issue that's going to allow them to stay where they're at as a senator, as a congressman, as a mayor, as anything, as a judge, then believe them when they go. You got to believe when they start talking about this kind of stuff and making everything political because they want to stay in power. They want to stay where they're at. You're in election mode all the time.
Yeah,
and you take a stance all the time. You have
We've
to.
We've been watching this current election for like 2 years now. Like,
I mean, in
I was
2016,
gonna say, I don't think it's just election year. Like I felt this polarizing stuff going on for literally 4 years.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, Trump doesn't help either. But I'm saying, as soon as in 2016, in 2012, they're already talking about 2016. And people get so caught up and that's the way it is. We just gotta, keep talking about these things, and we gotta, there's always a left and a right. There's always a right and a wrong. And it's like, when do we ever just sit back and look at the stars for a little bit and say, hey, I think we're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Well, but I've said this before. Like, you got to get rid of those parameters. You got to get. To me, I feel like having political parties already creates a divide. Like that's. I feel like I've felt this for the longest time. We touched on it before. Like, just get rid of them. Just get rid of political parties. Just get rid of.
I won't. No.
But how will we choose our officials then? What do you recommend?
Well, just have people just go and run. I mean, like in the original, like whenever things started, like we would have people run. Yeah, there were parties, but there was like 8 or 9 of them. Like there wasn't like a split down the middle. I mean, you have some
more parties, not parties.
Yeah, well, more parties. Have a bigger. Yeah, most people are in the middle. Saying, actually.
Well, I'm saying, but just like already putting the divide into everything already just sets the stage to be able to fit people and paradigms into your way of thinking, and then you never even want to hear the other side. And I just feel like it's just a constant divide every 2 years for House seats and Senate seats, and then every 4 years for the presidential. It's like, and we're okay with that. Like it's an okay thing. Like, let's just.
The fact that we're okay with people being on the Supreme Court for life is insane to me.
Oh, and they're appointed. They're appointed
for life. Like for life. This is not look. You might not have all your marbles by the time these are already old people.
Yeah.
But it's like for life, that's huge. Like you can,
Yeah.
you can't, um, you can't like switch it up just to see what what's gonna happen. It's crazy to me. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, you gotta have new
the
fresh ideas and stuff like that too. So
I was just looking at the comments really quickly. Sinjin actually popped in because I asked him to fact check something for me because I don't like to look stupid. I don't like to get things wrong, and I get things wrong. But he was saying that just what I was thinking too, because what I saw in the groups until today, like most people didn't even know that the FDA actually revoked using the emergency use of going back of hydroxychloroquine. They revoked using it as an emergency use for a reason. So I didn't know that either. He actually just found that as well. I don't know if we could change topics. I just had a question at some point for you guys about Breonna Taylor's murder. They said that the FBI was opening an investigation, into that. I just want to get your thoughts if you thought that was going to be a fair, investigation, or if it was just like look, we're doing the investigation and we already know what they're going to come out with. Do you guys hear about that?
I'm gonna be skeptical and go with the latter because it's taking so long that now they're just doing it because there's a lot of pressure. That doesn't mean that they actually do it right.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. I'm glad that people are still like talking about her case and all that.
I know.
But
as it should be talked about still.
So what?
It should be talked about still until something is actually done about it.
It should be.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're
legislature, that they don't have the legislature in place that would stop this from happening. So when people, I think a lot of us are detached, we see it happen in another state and we go, oh, thank God, our police probably wouldn't do that. But actually a lot of our states don't have the legislature to protect us from that, from
no knock warrants.
No knock warrants. So I think even if it doesn't go anywhere fully for her, that would break my heart. But at the same time, just because there's a number of reasons that this one is personal to me. But I think that it would break my heart if people let this die. The awareness, I think, would be to take it to legislature so that the no-knock warrants could be reevaluated.
Yeah, I'm glad that there's an investigation
for a few
happening. And there's also I guess, Vanessa Guillen's family, the Fort Hood soldier. Her family went to the White House today to talk to Trump, and they said they're going to open up an investigation for her murder as well. I think it's good. It's just it sucks that it takes so much pressure. Like we can't depend on our justice system to kind of just do the right thing from the jump.
No.
Like it's crazy.
Well, also, well, when it comes, shifting gears. I mean, look at the Washington football team. The owner, Dan Snyder, he had to wait until money was an issue.
Yeah.
Sponsorship was an issue to finally say, yeah, you know what? We need to get rid of this team name. I'm about to lose FedEx. I'm about to lose this. And they're going to be called the Washington football team.
Football team.
Yeah. Well, so
no animals, nothing.
Hold on. In defense, you got to understand, and I read a Forbes report about it. It takes teams not just to change the name, just to rebrand, a year and a half to do.
I'm sure it's colossal in terms of the money.
They're probably running into all kinds of legalities. And then there was this guy, I can't remember his name, but he bought up almost all these different DC related nicknames and bought the rights to them. So this guy has hundreds of names.
I hope he gets a lot of money.
Waiting. Yeah, I hope he gets a lot of money.
Because he never thought that would happen. The Washington football team?
Yeah.
Out of the most generic one, too.
Seriously, so now any team that plays in Washington can say.
With football team. Washington football team. It'd be
that's lame. I'm sorry.
What football team?
You should ask a 5-year-old.
No, but
what football team are you?
The Washington Ninja. No, you
What
can't say
is the name
ninjas.
of the
That's
football team?
But
Football.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
interesting.
what the craziest thing too is he like he was worried about money like being taken away like from his team. That's why he wanted to change the name. But
Yeah.
this is gonna make them so much money. Rebranding makes you so much money because everybody has to go and get all that new gear again. Like you can't use your old jersey anymore. You have to go buy all the new swag all over. You make so much more money with the rebrand.
yes,
Well,
but hold on,
they're
hold on,
about to
hold on,
make a
hold
whole
on.
bunch of money just from this Washington football team thing because people are going to buy all that stuff, and then whenever they actually do rebrand with a new team, they're going to buy that stuff
it's like
too.
twice.
So
Money
hold
in the
on.
bank
If
twice.
I'm a team, if I run a football league at a Washington, and the name will be trademarked, so like you can't even say, "Hey, this weekend we're playing the Washington football team."
Right.
That's what city you playing to tonight?
You know
High
what's
school,
even crazy too? What's even crazier is that EA Sports, the team that they make Madden,
Yeah.
they actually got rid of all of the logos, Redskin name, and they just use like the EA general like EA logo for the Washington.
They're a
football
creative
team.
player.
Yeah, they're basically a creative player. But no, it just goes. We're kind of like going back to the original thing. Is like, why does it like money is like it's like the real reasoning have to for change to make like it speaks to the morality of the people that could have made this change way before the pressure of money or social media pushing or activism or whatever. Like, why does it have to wait for that?
Yeah.
Like, why can't just people like the moral compass of a lot of people they just don't have one.
Did you guys watch the hearing with Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Apple?
No, I missed it.
They were testifying for it's the same shit that they did it 2 years ago. So they get all those four CEOs and they go, "Hey, you guys are violating, antitrust laws."
Privacy.
Yeah, privacy. I mean, Facebook for privacy, Amazon for antitrust, Google same thing, Apple too, because they're saying that. I mean, but before the meeting, there were articles going, "Hey, here's some of the issues that uh, Congress should actually bring up, like the fact that Amazon is ruining like local mom and pop shops because they'll actually push their own Amazon branded products." So let's say I do a Kickstarter and I have this brand new product and I sell it on my website, and Amazon's going to have the exact knockoff, the same thing but a knockoff, and push it on Amazon. And where do people go? They're not going to come to our website. They're going to go to Amazon.
Yeah.
And how Facebook is just like with the privacy issues, buying WhatsApp, buying Instagram. But then
I mean, it's gonna take companies to do something like massive to all brand together to kind of knock Amazon out of the game. Like, doesn't Nike they removed all their product off of Amazon and it's only available on their website, right? Is that the brand? Yeah, I think until you start getting all these companies, all the companies that start removing their product, because from there you're fighting like a mountain range.
No, it's not going to happen. Like Facebook got fined $5 billion by the European Union. I think it's Facebook.
No, it wasn't at Google.
It was Google.
It was Google. $5 billion by the European Union. Yeah, and so you're like, that's nothing to them. It really is not. So, and when those guys go in front of Congress, and then you have these old people asking them, "So you mean to tell me that you can't fix my email and I still getting spam and all that stuff?" You're like, why do you even bother at this point?
Because the people that are questioning them like have no idea what to ask them. These are like political reps, and they're not IT guys. They don't know exactly what to ask them. So they're just like, it's a cakewalk for them. These
nothing ever comes out of those meetings. I don't know why they keep having them. I think it's silly. It's a waste of time. And these guys are just sitting there.
We'll see.
It's formalities just to say that they did it. Just to, like, hey, we did this. We talked to these guys. Like, all right, let's, like, it's just going through the motions for them. Because, like, I've seen some of those videos and the questions they ask them, and you can see, like, Zuckerberg's just like,
are you serious?
What?
Yeah.
Like, you asked me that question? Like, are you really asking me that? Like, You know, like some of the questions that they get asked are just like,
Yeah, that long pause of like,
Yeah.
okay.
You
Did you
mean,
guys see that today is World National, awareness for sex trafficking? Today is the awareness for that, and that's actually a big topic that's been up lately
did
too.
not see that.
sex trafficking
Yeah,
day
so today,
today? I mean,
sex trafficking
sorry.
day today.
Not sex
Not
trafficking
well,
day.
awareness for sex trafficking. So not like globally, Bach. Okay.
Today is
Not
sex
like-
trafficking day, everyone.
Wow.
It's
Celebrate.
not. I don't know who your people are. Okay, but
Yeah.
mine are going against it. So, but
That's
yeah,
good. That's
was
good
on my feed a
awareness.
lot.
Feed your kids.
There are a lot
It's
of,
sex trafficking day.
What's it called? I don't know. My dad uses a lot of this shit. Duct tape. So there's a lot of photos with it, and like you said, another hashtag. And I didn't do it today because it's my daughter's birthday. But I also thought tomorrow you guys aren't going to be posting these photos. But it's the duct tape with sex trafficking victims that have gone missing on the name. So that was a huge thing in the feed today as well. But again, I worry that it's not going to go further than today with those duct taped photos.
It's not.
Yeah, we'll see.
It can. It just takes people to want to do it. Like it takes people that, I mean, I have I have a 10-year-old daughter, right? Like, I mean, that stuff like that hits home. Like me and my fiance, we were watching the Epstein Filthy Rich doc. We haven't watched the last episode yet, and I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm just like that made that. I mean, and I've seen all kinds of crazy movies, and like I've seen the crazy gory stuff, and I'm like that. It just hits somewhere different. And
wait, if you watch it with your kid?
That's the silver lining, kind of with the sex trafficking thing, that hopefully when people watch that documentary, they see it kind of brings awareness that this is a major issue.
It's a real thing, because I think some people are so disconnected from the word sex trafficking. Sometimes they think it's in a movie or it's something that doesn't happen to their neighbor's kid. But when they find out that their neighbor, that kid that was just walking home from soccer practice, got snatched up. We got here in Austin, and I bought my daughter Mace and all her friends Mace. They were just going down to get pizza. But I still was like, I'm still going to buy that. I'm not going to make them live in fear. But when I look at the numbers of girls that have actually, I'm not going to go too deep into conspiracy theories. I don't know anything about that. But the actual numbers of women and girls that are sex trafficked, I mean, it is a topic that we should be talking about. And I do agree with the people that are saying that we are not speaking about that. We're arguing about these other topics, but we're not talking about the sex trafficking problem that we do have in this country, where a lot of our teenager and young women are just disappearing. And I saw that a lot more today. And you have a 10-year-old daughter, and I have a 16-year-old daughter as well. And it's something hit me differently watching that Epstein documentary. She's old enough for me to watch it with her and my son. We do those types of things, and they weren't shocked by it. Actually, I was more shocked than they were because of what they've heard. Maddie and her friends were followed down the street here in Austin by a guy, and he kept wanting things from them and taking pictures of them. So they're already aware of that, but I wanted to give some acknowledgement to that today, because I feel like there are some topics that go, like when we see a video of like George Floyd being murdered, or we know that Breonna Taylor was murdered, or we know that people are arguing over hydroxychloroquine, that's more the forefront. But sort of in the peripheral background are millions of girls going missing, and that's millions. So we're going, this many people died of COVID, but millions of girls have also gone missing and either are sex slaves or dying from sex trafficking. So I just wanted to slide that in.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, so people are more aware about it.
There's a
wait.
Hold on. I want to give a resource. Like, we can't just do hashtag.
Sorry.
There's a website. If you go to United Nations website, there's the Blue Heart campaign, and there's all kinds of information. And
you're jacking my thing.
What?
Oh.
I was going to share at the end. You said share something. You're jacking my stuff.
That was her dope.
You got a bunch to share anyway.
You're already on it, but there's
might as well squeeze it in right now. That was her dope thing she wanted to share.
No, it makes sense. But there's also the government, the USgovernment.org. The State Department has and also a link that if you go to the government website, 20 Ways to Fight Human Trafficking, and it has a bunch of resources there as well.
So let's do this from now on. If you bring up any like social issue or topic, let's not bring it up just to bring it up. Let's have some kind of CTA to back it up. So
Yeah.
Nice.
a website, an article, a study, or something like that, and I can add that to the show notes because
makes
social media activism is not
Be
that effective.
productive.
Yep.
I want to talk about this Garrett Foster situation that happened with the protester that was shot downtown here in Austin.
Mm-hmm. Did it make national news?
It did.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
national
No, it did.
news.
Okay.
Actually, man, for some reason I'm having a brain fart. Can somebody kind of give like the
So Garrett,
a recap?
Yeah, so Garrett was downtown with his girlfriend who was a paraplegic, quadriplegic, and she was in a wheelchair. He's her caretaker. He is, using his constitutional right to wear an AK-47 across his chest. Mainly, he was using that. He had been quoted in in a publication and saying that he knew that he couldn't use that with police officers because that would look violent. So he wasn't a violent person. He wasn't going to the protest to be violent. He had actually been out there every day for 50 days, protesting every night so peacefully. He wasn't doing anything. There's different reports. Obviously, you're going to have different eyewitness accounts depending on what the agenda is. But most people do agree that there was a car during the protest that approached protesters, and he had his girlfriend. And as he saw the car approaching the protesters, he stepped in front of his girlfriend's
wife.
His wife, sorry, my apologies. His wife, and he was there to protect her. And as he saw the car coming, he stepped in front of them, and he was shot. Obviously, there were people that heard the shots, saw the shots, how it went down. There's an alternate version that said that he pulled his AK-47 that was strapped across him and pulled it and was going to shoot at the driver. There's no evidence of that happening.
And that's not true.
Right. And so that was what people spun it at first. But he was shot, and he did pass from that. And that's what I gathered from several different resources.
And they have the driver. And
the driver was taken at the day of. He was taken into custody, and they questioned him because the driver fired some shots first, and then sped off. Called 911 later. Was taken into custody. Gave a report. Then another protester, not Garrett, fired return shots at the vehicle as well.
Right.
So Garrett never fired his gun at all. He just the whole situation is like a very unfortunate chain of events because I can see both sides. I can see how the situation looks from both angles. I can see I watched a video of how it happened, and when you watch that video, it happened so damn fast. Literally you hear the car honk. The whole crowd starts walking towards the vehicle, and then literally within a couple seconds, shots are fired. And I can tell if a guy is open carrying a rifle around his shoulder, and you're inside of a car, you don't know what's gonna happen next. But at the same time, just the fact that there's all these protests around, you're so willing to kind of start shooting. I don't know. It's just it's a crazy reaction to me to have, and I feel really bad for his family and all the other protesters because 5 other protesters were shot in this whole incident also. But they weren't as badly injured as Garrett. Garrett's the only one that passed away.
But as always, when something like this happens, people try to find something in the victim's background that will justify, hey, this is where you get shot. And there was something about Antifa, I think.
No, the thing that the one thing about this that really just it pisses me off, or it rubs me it's just really disgusting, is all the people that kind of after the fact when Garrett passes, and you want to kind of start calling this guy a more. I see all these different people saying, "Oh, You play stupid games, get dumb results, or you call this guy a moron. Like, this guy, he's a vet. He's been out protesting for a cause that is very important to him for 50 plus days. He's trying to stand up for people's rights. But you, like, after somebody passes, you want to kind of go and tear down their name and destroy. They're not here to defend themselves or stay. Like, he didn't do anything. Didn't do anything wrong at that incident. But you want to go to on social media and you want to start insulting people and just like insulting his family and all this stuff. It just makes no sense. Like, at the end of the day, that's a life. Like, why?
Yeah.
What purpose does it serve to you to kind of go on and tear somebody apart? I don't get how this makes you feel like a better person. And I think that's the thing you were referring to on my Facebook. This guy was like coming in and just could not let it go. Like that. Oh, he was pointing his gun at this guy in driver's side. Like, regardless of what he didn't do anything wrong at that situation. Like, and it's a shame. It's just a shame that, like,
if it happened to somebody close, then you have a totally different point of view. Until it hits you, it hits you close to home. You can talk shit all you want. People are going to do that regardless.
I was going to ask you, because you've served. I actually saw a lot of ex-vets and people that had been in the military that spoke from the mindset that a lot of people were saying he was carrying an AK-47, which is legal in Texas. People should keep that in mind. That's legal. He wasn't doing anything illegal. And also, he was in the military, so he's very comfortable with that gun, very comfortable carrying that in a non-threatening way. So from your perspective, knowing that, like, just they were painting him out to be someone who was already hostile when he went with that gun, that people would be perceived that. But you being in the military, you know that that's not always the case, carrying those things. Well, not always the case. I'm not going to speak that. That was not what I meant to say.
No, I understand what you're trying to get at, and I'm trying to be. For me, this hits home because no, it hits home for me because this is a vet that didn't die in combat. He didn't die defending this country. He didn't die, trying to save his platoon or whatever. He died here on American soil. That happens way too damn much, and it beyond breaks my heart. Like. Sorry.
Yeah, I got it. Like, cause
so for me, from hearing you guys and y'all, I mean, I've purposely kind of removed myself from social media because it was starting to make me feel certain things that I didn't like who I was starting to feel like. And from what you guys are saying, people, veterans or not, that were trying to paint a veteran, a fellow vet, or a person that defended this country for their right to do whatever the hell they want to do here, and they're trying to paint this guy, they're trying to throw this guy's name in the mud for somebody in the military. And I try not to use profanity, but there's a specific thing that I call those people, and those are shitbags. I mean, you have to be a complete shitbag. Doesn't matter if he tried to fire his gun first to defend his wife, to defend a crowd of people. It doesn't matter. This guy did what 99% of the rest of this country does not decide to do, and that's serve this country. Okay, I'm not a person that likes to wave the flag of like, oh, I'm a vet, I should get discounts, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. I'm not a banner flag, like, but when it comes to stuff like this, like, I don't know, man. Like I liken it to, like Lawrence of Arabia. The guy did like amazing things in the movie. He did all these battles and did all these things, and then what did he do? He died at home on a motorcycle. Like a tragic way to lose your life.
Because
it's like, is that y'all's paper here? Was quoted a local politician saying exactly what you're saying. Saying it's pretty incredible a veteran could die here exercising their First and Second right. Yeah.
It happens too much. It happens too often, too much. Like it just.
Yeah.
And on top of that,
on top of that, because he became a vet to go and defend our country, like in our army, and then over here he's still like 50 straight days defending people's rights for the Black Lives Matter in the Portland protests. He's out there in solidarity, still like standing up, still doing what the thing that made him join the military in the first place. And he gets murdered over here, and then for a mass amount of people to come out and start just disintegrating his name, like it makes it's so
But you know,
disgusting.
it happens. It happens no matter. It happens no matter what. I think.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do a whataboutism. I don't like whataboutism because it really deflects from the topic, not the topic, but the issue at hand. You know, when things like that happen, you hear things like, "Oh, well, if it were black and there's an investigation, then there's no way." First of all, black guy walking around with AK-47 down Congress Avenue, you know, that would have been a thing just on its own. And on top of that, the guy gets gunned down. Oh yeah, we'll find something about him, like he shoplifted when he was 14 or some bullshit like that, and we'll just dip that under the bud, and then we don't talk about it anymore.
Who didn't steal a piece of candy from the grocery store when they were a kid?
I did.
Like, come on, man. Like,
but I'm saying they just try to make him to a bad guy, like he deserved what happened to him. At the end of the day, it's still a life.
Nobody deserves to die. Nobody deserves to die in that way. Like, it's just nobody does.
When you talk about, even when you talk about George Floyd, this whole movement has never, I don't want to say never, it got amplified and triggered by the George Floyd incident because everybody saw it. But there was I think there was a similar case in France when it was a white guy. And it got just as much press because it was like, hey, that's still a life. Still somebody who died under a cop's knee. And
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going a different way. One of the arguing points that just kept coming up repeatedly was, if I had someone like an AK-47 is very scary for me, and so that's scary for I can have compassion for the driver. That's what I kept seeing a lot of people say on Facebook. So my retort to that was, then why do we have open carry? Like if you see a group of bikers that are walking down the road or at the national capitol and they all have AK-47s, you are not challenged by them. So why would you be challenged by someone like Garrett that was at a Black Lives Matter protest? It's because it's in a different context. So I saw that argument a lot that was like, well, it's hostile. And it's like, but it's not hostile when it's you and your uncle shooting AK-47s on your ranch. It's not hostile to you when someone's just carrying it casually. That's your friend. So I don't actually buy that argument. I just wanted to throw that in because someone private messaged me just now. So I just wanted to throw that in really.
Well, and even too, for me in the training and firearms that I got, like, you know, in the Navy, I don't know what branch he was in, but in the Navy, like when we're taught to have firearms, like we're taught not to use them. Right. Mm-hmm. Until it's like, you know, like until
last resort. Until
there's like the last resort possible. We're taught not to use them unless it's like unless it's our life or theirs, basically. Right? Again, I can't speak for the Marines or the Air Force or the Army, but I mean, it's obvious he's a veteran. He's been trained to use that weapon. He obviously, I mean, from pictures that I saw, he had it properly holstered. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. It seemed like he was competent in what he was doing with that weapon. And you know, when it comes to people that have those weapons, like, dude, if you're competent in it and you could show that you're competent with a weapon, I mean, responsible with it, then have it, man. Like, if you could legally do it, then do it. But there's a responsibility that comes with it, and it sucks that people are not they're just going to the he wore an AK-47. You get, that's what you get.
The one thing that speaks volumes about this whole situation is you haven't heard shit from the NRA. You haven't heard shit from the people that support the Second Amendment. Whenever this, like, is it because this happened to be like a liberal kind of protest? If it was on a conservative one where they all kind of wanted to open up the government and they all showed up at the Capitol with their machine guns, like,
Machine guns. Holy
or AK-47s, whatever. Like, and one of them got gunned down. Would y'all be standing? Would they be standing up then, or would they be this dead silent about it? Because it's so crazy that it's so crazy that like when the same rights that people that they claim that they're so for and they want to support and want to make sure nobody ever violates them. When you see those rights being violated in Portland, or when you see it being like kind of not shown the same respect at our protests, or not even our protests, because this is like a very the BLM is a pretty mixed group of demographic that's at these protests. But that is just that whole side that, like, don't speak about anything. They don't stand up for any of these rights. So what are you really supporting at this point? Because if you're not going to stand up for
self-preservation,
if you're not going to stand up for when people like when people are ripping a vet's right that he's open carrying, which is his right. That's his second. He's allowed to do that. He's not breaking any laws, and you don't come out and support and stand up for that, and you're just silent about it. What are you really doing? What is your stance? What is this organization for? Like, it's hypocrisy. It's just blatant, and the public is aware about it too.
You should be. I mean, at this point, it's almost like it's expected.
Yeah.
Like there's no. We of course not going to say anything about it. Of course, the NRA is not going to step in and say, "Oh, this guy was actually exercising his First Amendment right and his Second Amendment right at the same time." Blah blah blah. They're not going to do that. So it's even worse if we expect the fact that they're not going to say shit. I think, because we're just numb to it. We're like, yeah, whatever, it's just another story.
That's the best.
And then on to the next
like,
one.
We are numb. We as a
I don't know
society,
if
we just are so numb.
Answer to, respond back to this just because it's immediate. So Faith says, no disrespect, but I don't believe in open carry to prove a point. I really don't care who it is.
Well, first,
to be again, I mean, I respect your opinion on it. I mean, it's for me. It's almost like posting things on Facebook. Like, what is the real reason why you're doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's a reason to benefit, then all right, I guess do it. I mean, it's your prerogative. But if it's like to flex your muscle and do this, that,
I think a lot
like,
of
there's no. Well, yes.
So is concealed carry better then?
But the previous interviews with Garrett, by the way, that are published do say that he bore the gun because he believed in his amendment rights, and he believed that it was to be used at a last resort. It wasn't to be something that was flashy. It wasn't something that was used to be intimidating. It was that protests had turned into riots. There had been things that had come up, and he, being a trained vet, was someone who knew how to use a weapon easily. And he was exercising his legal right. Now, I have different opinions on gun rights, just as you may, Faith, but I am saying in the state of Texas, it's legal to have open carry. So I think, to speak to what my point in bringing up the open carry law is that people were saying that they were scared, or they had compassion that he was walking toward the car. But these same people that I was seeing saying that they were scared are out shooting with their uncles every weekend, or they're out on the state capitol with these AK-47s.
Exactly.
So I think that's the point I was trying to make, is that we can't pick and choose who we say can open carry. And that's all I was saying. It wasn't necessarily like a gun rights issue. It's just, don't be, like Obi said, don't be hypocritical and say this guy was carrying an AK-47. So is your grandpa. So is your uncle, your neighbor down the street. You guys get together and you do all that stuff. And you chose that at this context, Black Lives Matter protest, to say that you empathize with a driver that thought an AK-47 coming near him when it wasn't unholstered at all was dangerous. But when you're walking at the gun range and you don't know those guys at the gun range. I've been to a gun range with my dad. You don't know those guys. They might have some trauma. American Sniper, what was his name? Do you remember the American Sniper? The guy that got.
I forgot his name.
Chris Kyle.
So
is it Chris Kyle?
Oh,
yeah, Chris Kyle. So he was
Yeah.
killed at a gun range because with, by another veteran. And that's not to down anything, but you don't know anything about people's mental health or anything. So my point being is that you can't pick and choose who to be scared of.
And
Well,
his wife is a
I will
quadriplegic too.
I will say this: the more responsible gun owner died that night.
Yes,
Definitely.
Because last time I
absolutely.
checked, I was never trained, or I ever seen anybody being trained shooting a gun out of a car. Like the more
Yeah.
responsible gun owner perished because of an irresponsible gun owner, and that's where I'm in this weird you could, like, yes, I'm okay with people. If you want a gun and you are capable of doing it, you could get past whatever FBI, whatever red tape you got to go through and get it. But the responsibility that comes with it, I mean, it's Spider-Man, man. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. That's
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
put that quote to anything. Like, if you have the power, I mean, having a firearm is power. Like, it is. But you have to bear the responsibility that comes with it. And if you have any sliver of doubt of that, then you shouldn't do it. Like, you shouldn't get one just because you want one.
100% what Alex just said. 100%. Because when you watch that video, like, dude, there was not enough time for this guy to pull that gun out of his glove compartment and shoot it. Like, that gun was sitting, like, was
already right
close
there.
by.
Like,
It was right
intentional.
there on your
All the
lap.
reports
Like,
said
it was intentional. Whenever any of us see a protest happening, what do? You drive around. You don't intentionally try to drive through it. Like, you're just
Oh, but
asking
there are
for
fine
trouble.
people on both sides when that happens.
Yeah, no, he has a perfectly good reason to want to drive through that protest at that given point. Like, it's ridiculous. But I'm gonna just say this is also a fact. Like, both the guy that was in the car and also the protesters that returned fire, they were both legal gun owners. They both had permits. Like, I guess I'm a legal gun owner too, but it's just like what Alex just said. Like, that comes with
They should
a
be
lot of
taken away. That's for
responsibility.
sure.
Yeah, it comes with a lot of responsibility. Like, firing your gun into a crowd of like, he's very lucky and maybe that it only hit Garrett, because you could, like, firing that many rounds into a large crowd of people that are around your vehicle. Like, you could have taken out how many different people. Like, it was irresponsible.
I see a comment. Can I ask a question just for my own sake and those who may be watching the comments and don't
Sure.
know a question? Any of you who may know this. So Paul was just asking, he said, Alexi, you made a great point, but he also talks about the other side of it and how murky this can go legally. But he made a phrase here. He says, and I'm not familiar with this phrase, maybe you guys are. Did you see the photos where he has come up to the car door with the AK most definitely at low ready? Most civilians don't recognize that as definitely not the rifle is pointed at the ground.
Yeah,
Well,
I saw
so-
that photo.
So Garrett walked up to the car with his.
So what does that mean? Low ready.
Though I saw the photo that he's talking about. There's a photo at the car, but the rifle is, like, pointed at the ground. He has it, like, his hand on the, like, where the trigger is, but it's pointed at the ground. It's not pointed into the car like this, where you could see the barrel of the gun. It was just but I thought about it too. Is like, if I'm inside the car and I just see like the shape of the AK-47, I'll give him the benefit of that. I could say that driver at that moment feared for his life, probably, because you don't know what's gonna happen with that gun at that point. But it's just a I don't know. It's still just like a unfortunate chain of events.
So from my again, this is, I mean, God, man, I can't believe I'm thinking about this. I was in the Navy, 8 years ago, but so low ready is like so think about, when you see these movies when they ready, aim, fire, right? So when they ready, the gun is down, but they're ready. It's a ready position. So you already have your hand on the, ready on the trigger. It's already ready to be aimed. So it's ready. So it's at a low ready position. But I mean,
ready and
like ready, and then you aim is low, is raising. So low ready is like you like, you know, the gun's pointed down, you're not holding it, it's nothing. But then low ready is it's a tactical position.
Okay.
So like you see a lot of tactical, like, you know, groups moving, they're always at low ready. Everything's ready to go. So whenever they just tilt up. Those holsters, how they have those guns, it's just a quick dip.
Yeah.
I mean, the
So
gun
what
is already
is
in a
the,
position where all you have to do is just tilt it up and it's ready to go.
so I
That's
mean,
good to
there's
know, because I thought it was strapped to him, and so that makes sense to me. Thank you for
Yeah,
answering that.
it is strapped. I mean, it's right there, and there's
Yeah.
very little wiggle room for it to go there. But it's at a position to where the stock is already at his shoulder, and all you have to do is just turn and aim. So from
So
what I've been training, and I know that's low ready. It's just being in a ready to fire position.
So with the investigation going on now, I mean, I see Paul's point. Like it's going to be a he say she say type of deal, where because there's only so much evidence out there. And I mean, even the video that journalist shot, like you don't really see much because it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be messy. I think it's gonna be messy.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
but it may also set a precedence as to like I mean, I don't see any gun laws being changed just because this happened, but I don't know. This is gonna be nuts. It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be talking for an hour and a half already.
no, sorry, I saw I think it's Paul that put this the photo up. So for those who are not watching, Paul put up this photo, and it does show. I mean, it's kind of an obscure photo, but I mean, you see in the background, you can see in the background the high elbow, right?
Yeah.
On that. So yes, he is at low ready, but I mean, at that point, and again, I can't speculate on what the situation was, what was going on, stuff like that. But from what I know and what I'm seeing in that photo is that I mean, he probably just went into what he was trained to do with that weapon, you know, just to be at that ready position because he anticipates something could happen, so he wants to be prepared to react to it. I mean, I can't speak for him. I'm just that's my opinion. That's from what I see in that photo. But I don't know. It's still the bottom line is a veteran died on American soil by another American. I mean, it's you know, by someone that for whatever reason just decided to be irresponsible with power that they had.
Yeah,
that's point blank. That's how I feel about it. It's sad. I hope something comes of it. And honestly, like I feel like the people that fired their weapons from a motor vehicle, like they shouldn't have a right. Their rights should be lessened or stripped or.
But you can't enforce that. You can't really regulate that. I mean, it's like that one. The lawyer couple that came out with guns when there was a protest coming outside of their house. Like,
but they're charged with felonies now, though.
No,
well,
they
yeah,
are.
that's what
But I'm saying,
yeah, but if they get convicted for felonies, then yeah, they don't have those rights. Those rights are kind of the rest are gone. Like you can't be a felon and legally carry or legally get one.
Yeah,
So,
I just think it's crazy that somebody can murder somebody and they're released. They're out walking around like they didn't just take a life this past
At the end
weekend.
of the day, I think intent's going to come and play a huge part in testifying witnesses. What was Garrett's intention in walking toward the car? Was it to defend his wife and those around him? As an ex-vet, he knows that he's trained. He knows that he's there in case something's going to happen with someone who looks threatening. That they're going to play that part, and on the other side, there's going to be the fear factor with the driver. So it's just really going to come down to who's believable in that scenario. I think in the end.
Yeah, it's
right.
I think the thing is it is going to be a slippery slope. That's for sure.
All right,
well, rest in peace to Garrett and his family. I hope you are.
Man, we talked a lot about death this time.
Yeah, a lot
Herman
of
came,
happened this week.
and Garrett Foster. Let's make a I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff happening every day, and we try to bring up what like current events and
And
stuff.
we go over what happened throughout the week. This is a rough week.
Yeah, this is the rest in peace week. Rest in peace episode. Shit. Anyway, all right. So who's got some dope shit to share? Obi, what do you got?
My dope shit. You might make fun of me, but Beyonce made like a visual music video that's on Disney Plus. So
Oh, I saw
I think it
that
looked pretty cool.
preview.
Yo, Queen Bee has some
It's
cool projects to share with us on Disney Plus, wherever it has that. So check that out. If
Sweet.
you want something positive out,
Yeah,
like to kind of clock
it
out of all
on a
the.
lighter note because this has been tough.
Well, what about yours? What is yours?
Mine's easy. I mean, it's easy. It's something that I've been promoting for 20 plus years. It's the We Funk Radio. I don't think I give him. I don't give him enough shine. So We Funk Radio is a radio station out of Montreal. They've been doing it since like 1996 or 97, and they have over 1,000 shows. And for every show, they put up the full playlist, and it's funk, hip hop, soul, Latin jazz, international music, and it's a great way to learn to discover new music. I just signed up for Spotify. Really, like I'm probably the last person to sign up for Spotify, but I think that I'm a big DJ fan. So they'll have guest DJs on. You can find out any songs. You can favorite them. You can favorite shows. You can find out more about the artist, and then go to Spotify and maybe find out more about them. So wefunkradio.com. They have over 1,030 something shows. It goes deep. They have so much music. It's incredible. So shout out to Professor Groove and DJ Static. So yeah, that's my dope shit for the week.
As soon as you said DJ Static, I was like, bah, bah, bah. Like I don't know why I heard that. Like it just
I should have had that.
Oh, you should have done it.
Ah, dang, that was good.
All right, what do you got?
We need a soundboard now. Yeah, you know
what?
So me and the fiance, like we just got done watching like the whole series of The Office. So we were feeling like, hey, what are we gonna watch now on Netflix? And we've been watching a lot of documentaries lately. And the one that we watched recently was called Knock Down the House. Oh. And it's about it centers around these up and coming, no political background people that run for Senate, House positions and stuff like that. One of them is AOC that they focus on as well. And you're talking about like they have a lady as a coal miner from West Virginia, her coal miner's daughter. She's trying to run for a position. A lady in the 1st District in St. Louis running for that House seat. Just these powerful women that when you watch this documentary, I mean, for me, AOC, when she's talking, she's speaking my language. She's talking about like I'm a proud Boricua. I'm a descendant of African slaves. I'm a descendant of this. Like I'm like, hell yeah, man! I want to go do something with my life now. Like it was a very empowering documentary, man. I definitely recommend watching it. You watch these women that have had tragedy, that were from rough upbringings, that have lost, that have gained, just have had life. They're one of us. They're not these political people that come from political families and backgrounds. They're just you and I that decided, hey, I want to make a change and I'm going to do it. And it's a really good documentary. I would definitely recommend watching it. It's worth it.
Dope. Kim, what do you got?
So I'm going to piggyback on the Spotify thing. I think I put in the group, Michelle Obama came out with her podcast. It launched yesterday. Her first guest obviously would be Barack.
Nice.
Yeah. Really cool. Just seeing their interaction. We've already seen that. Just if you're a fan or not, wherever you lie on that, I think she's going to have some interesting people on over this course of her podcast. And then just a side note, real basic as fuck as you can get. I am rocking Taylor Swift's like out of the blue launched Folklore album that nobody knew was coming.
It's good.
Oh,
and it's
dang.
not something.
I also already
good.
listened to the Taylor Swift album. What?
It's
Whoa,
good.
you're like that?
I listened to it. It's good. It's good stuff.
Oh.
It's good writing.
I want
It makes
to.
you miss people that you didn't even date in sixth grade, but you miss them. You feel like you had something with them. So like it's in there.
Dang.
It's Adele kind of like Adele mixed with Beyonce's Air Out the Shit. So it's all there. It's great. And then last, of course, not to beat a dead horse, but I don't know why I'm just so stuck on this with the Breonna Taylor thing. You can go to justiceforbrianna.org. To talk about legislation, get involved in that with all the links that would help you be more likely to take action than just a hashtag will obviously do for us.
Dope. So I have all these links in the show notes as well, and I mean on the feedback.com website under this episode, as well as on iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. I have those links there as well. So first of all, I want to shout out everybody in the comments, people who've been talking. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Paul. I see Ernest. I see Katie. I
saw my bro
Chris.
on there.
Yeah, your
What's up,
brother
Chris?
was on. Yeah.
Christina was there.
Sinjin. I mean, everybody. Thank you for posting links. Thank you for contributing to this conversation.
What's up, Peter?
One of my boys from France.
Michael.
I don't know why he's still what he's still doing up at this time.
Monica, Sierra. Yeah, we got a lot of people.
So thanks so much for tuning in. Obi, thank you as always.
What up?
Alex, pleasure.
Yeah, man. Good to be back, man. Good to see y'all's faces and good to talk, man. And just having real conversations.
And sorry, I have to call you out. You have to fix your mic.
I'll get it. All right. Come on, man. Don't pull back the curtain. Come on now.
Yeah, you almost let him get through the whole show.
No, you
and then
thought I was gonna let that shit
because
go?
Back has to roast people. He has to roast people.
I gotta hate. That's what I do.
Nintendo One over here.
Yo.
Kim, thank you so much as always. We'll be back. Let's see what else. Make sure you follow the FeedBak on wherever you listen to podcasts. Go to feedback.com. Go to the feedback.com/links. That's where I put the latest episode. As if you want to subscribe, all the links are there as well. And we do this every Thursday. And stay safe out there. Wear a fucking mask. Be nice to each other. And that's it. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week. Ciao, ciao.
Peace, everybody.